This is always the kind of weird part. Just kind of wait. We got somebody. Good morning. How are you doing? Good morning, everybody. I think if you hear a comment, so I can see who's here. I think it should show up. Hi, Rick Lapira. How are you doing? I know you guys logged on. You're like, all right, Friday morning with Darrell, and it's like, oh, now it's Friday with Sean. Sorry about that. I hope you stick around. Hopefully this speaks to you, it blesses you a little bit. Hey, Jim Connors. Morning, Josh. How are you doing? Good morning. Morning, Nick. Good morning. How are you doing? It is Friday. I kind of, through this whole quarantine process, hopefully I'm not the only one, but I have lost track of the days. So, Jim Connors, thank you for reminding me that it is Friday. Thank you so much. Oh, man. Hey, don't grab that. Come here. We're going to have a co-host, I think, if that's okay. Can you wave? Can you say hi? Nope, he's shy. Sorry. Morning, Doug. This is Silas. He's pretty shy this morning. Oh, that was a wave. That was his wave. He'll stick his hand up. So he says hello as well. I think the question is for today is have you picked up a new hobby? Have you revived an old hobby? Oh, there he goes. He's not shy anymore. He's waving to all of you guys. So comment. Let us know if you've picked up a new hobby or revived an old hobby. It's just fun conversation. Are you done saying hi? Yeah, there you go. He's waving a little bit more. You gonna help me teach today? You gonna help me with the devotion? Okay, yep. That's the Bible. Don't rip it. Yeah, let's save our spot. Okay, I don't know what time it is. Silas, they're all telling you hi. Yeah, there you go. No new hobby, just reading more. Yeah, I've been reading a little bit more as well. They're waving back. They said, "Oh yeah, let's not do that. Don't do that, buddy." So Hannah is now watching. So I'm hearing myself from across the room. I'm sorry. So Hannah and I bought our house probably 2 years ago, and one of the issues with it was the main weight-bearing wall had a sag to it, and so that has always been our goal project to finish. And I think we started 2 months ago, and it's been a process. It was a long process, but it's finished. I have a couple trim pieces to put up, but other than that, it's completely finished. Structurally, it's way better than what it was. It's stained, it's finished, it's all that stuff. So my hobby's kind of been that I picked back up was woodworking, and I forgot how much fun that is. I just have a blast doing that. I saw somebody said crocheting. Let me go back in the comments. Somebody's been picking up more crocheting. Oh, I clicked the pinned comment, so I cannot see anything else now. I'm so sorry, guys. But yeah, woodworking's been mine, and Hannah likes it because some projects have been finished around the house, but she also doesn't really like it because I see a lot of new tools that like I want or I need. There have been some needs to finish up a project here or there. So that's been my new hobby during this time. Just kind of a little bit of woodworking. So I'm afraid Silas is going to run and grab this stand, but I don't think so. I think he's just going to climb on top of the table. So I think it's right around 9 o'clock. So let's get started. You know, for renewal, we have been studying through the book of Philippians. And this last week, we're in Philippians 4, verses 1 through 5. And, you know, for the last week or so, I mean, when studying it, this one verse, verse 4, has just really stuck out to me. So I want to share that with you. We're going to be Philippians 4, verse 4 today. Let me give you some backstory just really quick. While Paul is writing Philippians, he's actually imprisoned. He was arrested for a crime, and he's in prison waiting trial. The crime that he was arrested for, the penalty is usually death. So ultimately, Paul is awaiting his death. He's sitting there in a Roman prison waiting, just waiting to see what the verdict is. And so he starts writing Philippians to the church of Philippi, and says a lot of really good things. If you've never read Philippians, please go today. You have time. Go today and read Philippians. It's 4 chapters. Read through it, and then read through it again, and read through it again. It's such a phenomenal letter that Paul wrote. And the verse that I've been challenged with this week has been verse 4. So it says, "Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say, rejoice." So the very first thing that I see whenever he says, "Again, I will say, rejoice," the people in Philippi knew that Paul was in prison. They sent someone to help him, so they knew that he was there. So, you know, as they're reading this letter, they could have came to the conclusion, it's like, Paul, like, no. Or, did you make a mistake there? I just love how he's like, "Again, I will say rejoice." Like, he's like, I didn't make a mistake. I'm telling you to rejoice. But what he tells us to do is to rejoice in the Lord always. So rejoice could mean happy. It could mean joy. So he's saying, you know, have joy in the Lord always. I think where we mess up is that we try to find the source of our joy outside of the Lord. So here we have Paul in prison, and he's telling people to rejoice. You know, my personal experience is if I'm telling somebody to rejoice, to have joy, it's usually because I'm in a good spot. I'm putting my joy in the Lord, and I can share that information to them. But whenever I'm not putting my joy in the Lord, whenever I have failed and I have missed that mark, my advice to other people, it's not rejoice. So Paul, whenever he tells them to rejoice, is only telling them to rejoice because Paul is rejoicing. And Paul is only rejoicing because he's rejoicing in the Lord. In this one verse, we can see a couple of things. That we can see that, one, our joy is not solely based on our circumstances around us. If that was the case, Paul wouldn't be writing this. He's in prison right now. We can see that our joy is not based on materialistic things. He really doesn't have much. We can also see that our joy is not based on the people in our lives or around our lives. We can see that our joy, the source of it, is only in the presence of Jesus. Only in the presence of Jesus that is in our lives as believers. You know, circumstances change. Look, church has changed right now in this season. Your life has changed in this season. You know, maybe you're a non-essential worker, so you've been home. Maybe you've been an essential, but it has affected your life in some way. I mean, we can't just go up the road to 54th Street and go have a dinner. your life has been affected. Circumstances change, and they can change in an instant. So our joy is not wrapped up in that. Material things, right? You can buy something brand new, but it's already perishing. You could buy something brand new and it break down the next day. Like, our joy is not wrapped up in circumstances, not wrapped up in material things, and our joy is not wrapped up in other humans. I love Hannah so much. Hannah, I hope, loves me so much. But if the source of our joy is in each other, we're in trouble. I love Silas. You guys just met Silas maybe for the first time, or you've seen him, multiple times now. I love Silas. One of my favorite things that he does is he'll run up to me with his arms up, and I go and I pick him up, and he gives me a big hug, and he gives the baby kisses, if that makes sense, like the baby, like the mouth wide open, slobbery on your nose, on your face, and like that brings so much joy. Brings so much joy into my life. But then in an instant he could smack me right in the mouth. Joy's gone. People will fail you. They will bring joy in your life, but they're not going to always bring joy, because that's what Paul tells us to do. Rejoice in the Lord always. Sometimes you can rejoice in a circumstance. In a situation in your life, you can rejoice. I can't rejoice always. Sometimes things just happen that aren't the best. Silas is not rejoicing right now. Something just happened. Sometimes you can rejoice that, a material thing. Maybe you paid something off or whatever. You can rejoice, but you're not always going to rejoice in that. And people, you're not going to always rejoice around people. They're not always going to bring you joy, because they're fallen just like you and I are. As Christians, our source of joy should come from the presence of Jesus in our lives. That's it. He's the only one that's not going to change. He's the only one that's not going to perish, to not be new. I mean, He is what we are looking for. It's not going to be a temporary fix. He is the fix in our lives. And you know what? He's never going to fail us. So our joy is wrapped up in the presence of Jesus in our life. And what better time to realize that? That for me, like sitting in this, quarantine shelter in place thing, I had to come to the realization that I was putting joy in other things. That my day was determined by what happened, A, B, or C, and not in the unchanging presence of Jesus in my life. And going through the study in Philippians, seeing this verse, it's just been a verse that I've been striving for. That every day I wake up and see what my perspective is on for life, and where I'm going to be filled, and where I'm going to find joy. If it's going to be joy that lasts, or if it's going to be joy that only lasts for a minute. If it's going to be joy that is based in circumstances in this world that change in a second, or if it's going to be joy that transcends the circumstance in our world. So maybe you've been a Christian for a really long time, and this is just a reminder. Maybe this is a push in the right direction, push in the stop focusing on other things, focus on Jesus in your life and find joy in that. Maybe it's a push for that, and that's awesome. Like I pray that is what it is, or it's just a reminder, just a everyday reminder. But if you're not a Christian, I kind of want to talk to you really quick. If you've not put your faith in Jesus, I want to share with you that joy without Jesus is only circumstantial. It's only momentary. You're not going to find lasting joy that transcends everything in this world. You're not going to find it outside of Jesus. So if you put your faith, if you believe that Jesus came to this earth to live a perfect life, to die a death that you deserved, and to pay a debt that you owed, to raise from the grave, beat death, and offer reconciliation to the Father, offer forgiveness of sins. If you believe in that, Jesus will enter your life and change your eternal address. Like the place that you will reside for eternity will be changed. You will no longer be destined to live separated from God, live in a real place called hell. That address is changed to heaven, and forever and ever and ever and all of eternity you will be in the presence of God. That's the reconciliation. That's the forgiveness of sins. That's the number one thing. Along with the presence, with His presence in your life, you're going to find joy that transcends everything that this world has to throw at you. So church, I'm just going to end reading the verse. Rejoice in the Lord always. Again, I will say rejoice. You guys have a fantastic Friday. Hopefully it's a fun weekend. And from what I've read, we're one step closer to seeing each other face to face. So have a great day. God bless.